Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and today we're talking to Becky Creel. She is with the Consumer Credit Counseling Services of West Georgia and East Alabama. She's going to share some great financial advice with you today. Welcome to the show, Becky.
Thank you for having me.
Now tell me about your office and what the office offers.
Okay, well, Consumer Credit Counseling Service is here in LaGrange, Georgia. It's located off of Moody Bridge Road, and I normally tell people it's right down the road from Aldi grocery store, so everybody knows where Aldi is. But a little bit about us is we help people that are going through whatever financial crisis, or perhaps people that need a little bit help as far as planning for their future and things like that. So we're totally nonprofit. We originate from the Family Center, which is out of Columbus, Georgia. The Family Center kind of house a couple of different agencies. We have the FAST program, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the family psychiatry, and then we also have the Consumer Credit Counseling Service. So we're really excited to represent the Troup County, and so we serve as many people as we can.
That's great. And so one of the things you do is help people plan a budget.
Yes, yes.
All right, so if you were going to help me plan a budget, what would I bring to you? And tell me the process and how long it would take for us to get a budget together.
Yeah. Well, a budget is probably the most important thing that I do at my job. That's usually step one, is gathering all the information. So when we're making an appointment, I will usually tell the client to bring whatever pay notices that you have, verification, pay stubs, documents from Social Security, whatever it is. And they could be without jobs, so it might be unemployment as well. But whatever pay verification that you have, bring to me, and we'll pretty much assess the information and start the process of performing a budget. Usually the first initial visit takes about an hour before filling out paperwork and doing the paperwork, and then we'll kind of get down to the nitty-gritty as far as the session goes.
Okay, so if I don't have very much money, how does a budget help me?
Well, everybody needs a budget. Usually 7 out of 10 people do not have a budget. And I tell people all the time, it doesn't matter how much money or how little money you have. All a budget is a plan. You have to plan. Whether you have a lot of money or no money, you still have to have a plan that you need to execute. And we like to tell people you need to have 3 working budgets. One is a working every day. One is kind of like a long-term savings budget. And then another one is how to budget in times of emergency or when there are no funds going in. How are we going to handle what gets paid first? What is left in our savings? And majority of it is people don't do the budget, so we have to start from step one. Explain to them what is a budget, how to make those plans, how to separate wants from needs, how to evaluate what you value, and list it out in an orderly fashion that works for the client. So it depends from person to person and how they learn, if they're visual, if they're auditory, and things like that. So we try to cater to what the client can do and how they've acted in the past, and give them just points and tips on how to go in the future with that.
Yes, and I remember being in a class one time where we talked about needs and wants.
Yes.
And sometimes it's hard to separate what's a need and what's a want.
Yes.
So will you tell me some examples of needs and wants?
Well, what is your definition of a need and want?
Well, I believe I need a place to live.
Okay.
And I need food.
Okay. But do you need a $300,000 mortgage or a $100,000 mortgage?
Oh, I need a 100.
So a house can go on your need list, but it also can go onto your want list.
Right.
Food, yes, you need food to live. It goes on your need list, but do we need to eat out at a 5-course dinner every night at a fancy smancy restaurant?
No.
Or do we need to cook in, you know, a
Yes.
few nights? So you see how things can go back and forth between what I need and what I want. So that's a good point. So I like to illustrate those points by exercises, and I love it when I have a couple with me, because what a man versus what a woman, or a partner versus what their partner thinks is what their needs and wants, you can see the differences. You know? So it's really hard, and it's a very unique experience, if you've never done that before, to sit down and really be honest with yourself. What do you need and versus what do you want?
Yes.
So, and a lot of things can kind of go back and forth.
That's right. Now, there are some things that really get people in trouble financially. And we were talking before the show about predatory lending.
Yes, predatory
lending.
lending.
I would really like to make sure we talk about that and cover that thoroughly.
Yes.
So tell us, what is predatory lending and how does it affect people?
Okay. Well, predatory lending is a not good loan. It's considered bad. Predatory lending differs from banks and mortgages and car loans and stuff like that because they charge higher interest. Legally, they can charge up to 681% interest, which is huge. Some counties, these types of places are banned. These types of places, they're usually something that's connected to a auto loan, a title, a payday advance company, some sort of company that's targeted people. They try to make it fast, they try to make it easy, they make it convenient for these people, and really what it's doing is just hurting them financially. And I'm not talking about the people that work there, I'm just talking about the business model, the company itself. They're really truly hurting our community. They're hurting the people, and it's usually the people that are not good shape financially or credit-wise. And a lot of times those people or clients will go to these types of companies because they don't have any other options, or at least they don't feel like they have any other options. So it's heartbreaking for me when they come to my office and they have 10, 15 different types of these predatory lending companies, and there's really not that many options for them, you know. So a big part of what I do is educating them on what they are, what they do, what are they legally allowed to get away with, and how does that differ from legit companies that are better choices, you know, good loans versus bad loans. Those are two different things. And there's lots of misconceptions and stuff like that, but I could probably talk, you know, all day about this, Wanda.
Okay, so if a company charges 400% interest, then the person, if they borrowed $100,
it would take them a long time to pay it off.
Yes, they'll pay it back 4 times. Is that right?
Yeah, they'll, and that's the problem. You know, it takes them 3 or 4 years to pay off a relatively low amount, like $500. You know, and that's the wrong in it.
Yes.
You could probably take a side job, a few weekends, and come up with the $500 or something. We can come up with a plan.
Yes.
You know, of how to get the money fast. And that's how they get away with it. They use relatively low amounts and charge those astronomical amounts of interest, and they have to pay over it, usually 36, 48 months. And then if you pay your bill on time, Wanda, they'll call you and say, oh, let's renew it.
Yeah.
You've been our prize customer, let's renew it.
And they'll charge a fee more.
Yeah, we'll give you $500 more, we'll renew it, we'll slap on that fee. That it's just a small fee, $25 here, $75 there. But it's a huge price. It's a huge price to pay for such a disservice, not only to them, but our community and everybody.
So what it does is it's one of those things in our system that keeps people in poverty.
Yes.
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 And you were telling me earlier that if you are helping somebody get out of debt, you know, that you can work with credit card companies or banks to lower their percentage and work with the client so that they can pay it off quicker and easier.
Yes.
But the predatory lenders will not do that.
Right. At our agency, a service that I provide is a debt management plan. Unfortunately, we only work with unsecured debt, meaning that it cannot be attached to a title loan or anything like that. Normally, those predatory loan companies, they are attached, secured by something. And when they're secured by something, we can't enter them into a debt management plan. Unfortunately, those options on how to get out of that situation are going to be slim. You either pay it off in full, which most people can't, or you go through the years of payment, which is hard on them, or else you default and then have risk of them garnishing your wages, I mean, or repoing of your automobile
Yes.
and things like that you don't need. So it's really hard for those people.
So if you pay it off early, do they penalize you, or do they attach the interest rate?
Some do.
Yeah.
You have to read the fine print, and a lot of people don't read the fine print. Every contract is different, and you really have to get out that magnifying glass
yeah.
and look at it really good. We encourage people to read all your contracts, no matter who you get it from. But those predatory lending, they will put all sorts of stuff in there, and they'll twist those interest rates and stuff and prorate it and things to that nature. So it only hurts the client.
Yes.
It only hurts the client.
And so the county or the city could pass a law or ordinance, whatever it is, to not have those businesses in our community. Is that correct?
I believe so. I believe so.
Well, I think that would be a good thing myself.
I think it would be.
Okay, so how do you teach money management?
Okay. Well, it depends on what audience I have. I can break it down to so many different categories, and a lot of times I will have sessions where it's session 1, we go over nothing but general budgeting. Section 2, we'll go over credit, credit education. What's good credit, bad credit, how does it work, how to read a credit report. Session 3 might be predatory lending.
Yes.
That's a huge one.
Yes.
Section 4 might be how to obtain a loan. What's the importance of getting loans? How do you go through the application process? A lot of people don't understand that. Other thing, a big one is student loans. We're seeing a lot of young people come in with student loans. They're either in deferment or forbearance. They don't understand the difference. They don't understand the seriousness of the amount of loan that is attached to their name. And they might graduate and have trouble finding a job or employment. So what are they going to do?
Yes.
Another thing is housing. Whether you're renting or pre-purchase or post-purchase. We do a lot of housing counseling too. A lot of people don't understand, especially if you're a renter, is your rights versus tenant rights. They don't understand what they have a right to, so they might be in trouble, and it's not really their fault. So it goes both ways. We work with local companies here that help people of low income get into homes and stuff, so a lot of times we'll kind of cater what they need to what they do. But as far as money management, we kind of look at the holistic view.
Yes.
You have to.
Yes.
It's no longer about health or spiritual anymore. It goes together. It goes together. And if you're struggling or having hardship in one area, most likely you're experiencing it in another area. And I'm a firm believer is if you look at the holistic picture and see what the client identifies with, the better I am to help them.
Yes.
And some people just need help one session, and other people might need a few more. But all those services are free that we provide. So that's a huge deal. They can come and see me on an individual level, and those services are absolutely free. So.
Right, and also with credit, some people charge a lot different interest rates than other people. And one of the things that I heard that I thought was good advice was if you have, say, a credit card with an interest rate of 20% and you've got a bank loan with an interest of 5%, would you go ahead and try to pay off that credit card if you were trying to pay off things quicker? Would you try to dissolve that debt with a higher interest rate and then move down according to the interest rate, or what would you advise?
That's a good question. I would advise first gathering the information.
Yes.
What kind of income do they have coming in? What ability or surplus income do they have to go out before making that determination? Some people, I do look at the interest rate. Whichever is highest, I would advise pay that sucker off first.
Yes.
Then move on, kind of like the snowball effect. You hit that. But then in the reverse, some people need that immediate awareness. They need that immediate, okay, I paid off the lowest amount. So the lowest amount, you might owe $200 to a Capital One and have a low interest rate and have a $5,000 American Express bill. I'll tell them to pay that $200 off first even though it has a lower interest rate, just so they can see the reward.
Yes.
You know, so everybody is different. It just depends on how much money we have to work with, what their budget's like, how fast they want to get to their goal, and what program. So that's a very good question, and we have debates over lower interest versus highest amount and stuff like that. And I really don't feel like it's a fit for all.
Right.
I really don't feel like it's a fit for all. It just depends on the amount of children and the activities that they're doing. I mean, you really, truly have to look at the holistic viewpoint.
Yes.
And credit, when we talk about credit, people are in different phases of their life. Someone who's already had a mortgage for 25 years is probably not going to be looking for another 30-year mortgage, right?
Right.
You know, maybe a young couple that just had 2 kids is looking for that new mortgage or maybe to upgrade on their home and stuff like that. So to them, their credit's way more important than, or it should be important, because they're actively getting those long-term goals, those long-term mortgage loans and stuff like that. So you really, truly have to look at the holistic view and see where they're at, not only in their phase of life, but along with their goals and things like that. And a lot of times, as we haven't touched on this, is a lot of people aren't emphasizing their savings. Savings is a big one for me, in conjunction with working towards their goal, eliminating that debt, working on their credit, getting out of that predatory lending, working on their student loans, whatever it is. I'm a big advocate for savings. Not just 401k, not just retirement. Every single time you get paid, you have to put away in savings.
And tell me why that's so important.
Because that will get you away from going to those predatory lending places. That will give you that emergency budget that we talked about you need to execute. That will have money in there for you to operate. If your spouse loses your job, what are you going to do? You know,
Yes.
If something happens with your mortgage company, what are you going to do? If something happens in general, what are you going to do? So a lot of people don't have the savings that they need. And once again, we can kind of debate how much savings you need. Ideally, you would want 6 to 8 months of working expenses, monthly expenses, mortgage, food, utilities, everything for 6 to 8 months. But for someone who comes to me and they've never saved a day in their life, to me, it's not about how much money you're spending or saving. It's about the habit of doing it every single time. You have to develop that habit before you can decide how much and where it goes. So once again, you have to look at the holistic picture and really kind of downgrade it to wherever they're at, not just where I'm at or you're at or he's at. You know, it's not a fit for all.
Yes. Okay, let's talk about student loans. Because a lot of college students are getting large amounts of student loans.
Yes.
Tell me what you think about that.
Student loans troubles are on the rise. They are. I'm seeing more and more people, young people, old people, it doesn't matter. You know, people have student loans. They usually tack on a long time. They're getting in trouble with either being on deferment or default status. And student loans is what I consider a big gun. They follow you around. It's so hard to get them discharged. You can't get it discharged in a bankruptcy. And a lot of times people that have those student loans, they just act like it will go away if you don't pay it. I'm sorry, you have to pay it. That's a big obligation that you sign your name to. And it's so easy when you're young and in school to fill out that FAFSA and get awarded all that money. Whether you graduate or not, it doesn't matter. You're still stuck with it. And you're stuck with that responsibility of paying it off. So not only am I seeing college students that have graduated, whether they get the job or not, they're not making that high income versus to offset the high amount of student loans. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So they might think that when they graduate, they can rush out and get a new car or a new mortgage or have 3 babies, and whoa, I got my student loan that's a $300 payment every month for the next 10 years. How am I going to do that? They don't really think about it, you know? So a big passion of mine is to raise that awareness about student loans and offer the consequences of signing those FAFSAs and getting those large amounts, and having the parent involvement too. Because a lot of times what I'm seeing is the students going back home just to have to pay the student loan,
Right.
you know, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but it sure does change plans of mom and dad, right?
Yes,
You
it
know?
does.
So student loans is a new adventure that we're going down. I just recently became certified in student loans with the NFCC, which is a big deal to me, and something that I want to pursue heavily as far as with the local communities and colleges around town.
Because sometimes with the student loans, they not only give you money for tuition, they will give you money for living expenses, right?
Yes, and when it becomes a problem is when I see clients that come to me, they're a working mother,
Uh-huh.
working full-time while going to school, bettering themselves, but the field that they chose is not going to be a high-paying field, and they're already struggling making $13 an hour at the local manufacturing plant, but their field that they chose is only making $9 an hour starting off. So how are you going to live? Also, she had $24,000 worth of student loans in a
Wow.
field where
Yes.
you would start off making $9 an hour. Do the math, it doesn't work out, you know?
Wow.
And a lot of times the clients will live off of those expenses, like you were saying. A lot of times they're awarded a certain amount, and whether it be from very low income or financial needed and stuff like that, and they can use the money for whatever, and they'll use it for their living expense,
Yes.
thinking that that will continue. It continues if you get a job that pays good, you know, but you're not guaranteed a job that pays good that's the whole problem. You're not guaranteed that. You're not entitled that.
Yes. And,
Hard work and
yeah, and even if you do get a job that pays a good amount, you still don't want that student loan out there
Yes.
to be very high,
Yes.
so that you are paying $300 or $400
Yes.
dollars a month. And
Yes.
so, gosh,
And Wanda, you made a good point. You can graduate making so much money, but if you don't know how to work your money and plan your money and budget your money, you'll be in the same mess as someone that doesn't have any money.
yes. Because there is a mindset, a poverty mindset, isn't it?
Yeah.
And unless you can come out of that poverty mindset, you'll stay in poverty.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So a lot of and I love working with young adults especially because to me they're babies. You know, they're
Yes.
babies. I love working with middle school, high school, college level, young adults. Because it's that time in their life where you can kind of shape them, inform them, and haven't you ever, if I would have known that then, you know,
Yes.
they're all my children, you know. So you tend to be able to reach them because they're still in that cognitive learning stage. Adults, we kind of feel like we know everything, you know, what's left there for me to know, you know. I don't, but I feel like everybody can learn, you
Yes.
know. That's so important. That's why education is such a big importance of what I do. And it's not being taught. It's not being taught in the middle or high school level like it should.
Yes.
Like it should. And even college level, it's not being taught, just the basics, you know. What is a pay stub? What is federal and state tax? Why do we have to pay this? Why are we paying into Social Security? They don't understand what those things are coming from.
Yes.
They don't understand the difference between balancing their checkbook, online, all the digital, because we have transitioned to a digital age. So
Right.
we're digital, everything's digital. So we went to school learning how to reconcile our bank account, you know, and waiting for that statement in the mail every month. Now they're doing online banking, which is not bad, but that's not the same. That's not reconciling your account.
That's right.
They don't even know what that word is. You
Yes.
know, what is reconciling?
Yes.
And that's the thing where adults have to, are we reconciling our account? How do we keep each other in checks and balances and stuff? So I love talking to young adults about just the basics. Just the basics.
Yes, I know, because you can look on that online banking and not have a check that's cleared or a transactions that's cleared, and you think you've got some money,
Yeah.
and you don't.
Well, Wanda, I can't remember what I had for breakfast this morning,
Yeah.
so I'm not going to remember how many times I swiped my card. So you have to check yourself. You have to check yourself. It's a must.
Yes.
It's so easy, like you said, to miss a line or not see it when it's on there. It's huge. And that's the number one thing that people will tell me. How do you keep up with it? Oh, it's all in my head. And I just start laughing. I know it's not all up
That's
in your head. I
right.
mean, nobody is that great, you know.
Yeah.
We can't, you know. And you have to write it down. You have to have a plan. And a lot of people don't understand that all a budget is a plan. It's not forcing you to do without.
Right.
It's not forcing you to sit there and realize what you're doing without. It's so you can get the things that are on your want list. It's for you to have goals, have dreams. That's part of our mission, is for you to have goals, for you to have dreams, for you to have hope again. It starts with just having a simple budget.
It helps you make wiser decisions,
Yes.
isn't that right?
Yes.
And then, I still keep my check registry.
I do too.
Yeah, that's the way I keep up with it, and so
Yep.
I know that sometimes when I have that, people think I'm going to write a check. But
Yeah.
no, I'm not. I'm just going to record this
Yeah.
debit card transaction.
Well, it's funny. I work with people on the very basic level, just getting them organized, because I'm a big believer that you're either auditory or you're a visual, or the type of learner that you are plays a big difference.
Yes.
Me, if I go to the mailbox and I get a bill, I will throw it up on my counter and I won't see it for 2 months. That's just the type of person I am. My husband is not. He's
Yes.
very, okay, I have to open it and I have to read it and I have to analyze it. And me, I have the kids screaming at me and,
Yes.
the dog barking and dinner going, and I don't have time to read it. So I place it down and it gets forgotten in my pile of stuff.
Yes.
So for me, I have to clip it. I have to have a routine. I have to
Yes.
clip it. And even though I can't read it, I clip it.
Yes.
So everybody's different. Some people like the Excel sheets online, software money, all that good things are good tools. Check registers.
Right.
I'm check register kind of girl.
Yeah.
Still, but it all works.
It
You have to
does.
do what works for you. One that you're going to sit down and say, I can commit to this. I can commit to this. I
Yes.
can't commit to that because I just can't do it.
Right.
And that's okay. It's okay to have weaknesses. It's okay to have strengths. You just have to recognize where you shine at and go to where you shine at.
That's right.
And work it good.
Yes.
So.
And I know you wanted to stress that people coming to you need to make an appointment.
Yes. In LaGrange, I'm a one-girl show, so people, when they come and see me, they need to make an appointment, okay? So the best way is to either call me or email me. But we need to make an appointment because everything that we discuss is confidential. We're talking about money. We're talking about their weaknesses, their failures, their strengths, and we can't just have people walking in off the street in the middle of that.
That's right.
I owe it to them 100% for their time. And so the best thing I can do is I can't stress enough to make an appointment. I'm also in and out a lot doing those educational workshops and presentations and seminars and things like that. So they might make a trip over there and I'm not there, you know.
Okay.
So it's always a good time just to touch base with me.
Okay, well, thank you, Becky. This
Well,
has been
thank
very
you.
informative, and I know that you have learned something today that's going to help you. Thank you for watching You Make the Difference, and remember, you truly do.